All right. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do this final topic. I don't actually know if it'll even be the first ramble because that first ramble got really long. Um, Marc doesn't like talking politics anymore. And I guess you can't blame someone for not wanting to after, the election season. That got kind of dark. I just want to talk about this because of how fucking mixed the message feels like it has become. Contrary to what might be popular belief among the three of you who choose to watch this show, I do not take sides. There are no sides to me. I take no sides. I have no sides. I'm not even on my side. I don't think out of the box. I think that you shouldn't even have a box to begin with, to think within. So I'm not really for Trump. I'm not really against Trump. I do think it's weird that we had a bunch of white presidents, white male presidents, then we had a black president, then we could have had a female president there a couple times, and now we just kind of have an orange president. That's just kind of weird. I'm sure Marc would laugh at that if he were here. I miss you, Marc. For those who might have watched the first Ramble and were curious, I should post a link in there or a comment that the song I was talking about and is the title of the Ramble is Blue Sky Black Death's remix. They're not actually the original creators of Death Magic by RBTS. Mouthful. Anyway, Ramble Entertainment actually talking about kind of current developments. As I mentioned in the original Ramble, or the first Ramble, or whether that's going to be the topic or not, or if this is the first Ramble, hi, I'm Scott. Welcome to Ramble Entertainment, where this is just Scott, no Marcus. And I'm just sitting here talking to myself, I guess, because I don't like the idea of just going weeks without content at a time. Yeah, I hear, and Marc has even said this, made this notion of, I don't know who to trust. And I hear this from customers, from coworkers, not knowing who to trust, not knowing where to get your news. And perhaps this is a thing of higher education. And I feel like this is a theme I keep circling back to on the show and in my life, where we don't come out of the box just knowing everything. When you look back and somebody asks what you do when you're on fire, that's not something you just innately know. You're taught it. People think that's hilarious. People think that they know how to think. This is actually wrong. That we have this notion that we know how to reason things. As a philosophy major, and when you take logic courses, this is the process of actually being taught how to think. When someone says you have good reasoning skills, the important word in there is actually skills, because it is a skill. Thinking, it actually is a skill. Critical thinking, reasoning, logic, these are skills. We don't actually, again, we just don't come out of the box and it's just like, I think, therefore I must be right. And I think that this happens a bit too often, maybe lately in this culture, and obviously it's what is going on just around me, and maybe just things that I'm watching on the internet lately, but obviously there are others who are consuming these things on the internet lately too. I can't help but think about this this correlation that a lot of people were drawing. The United States is basically the Weimar Republic. For those who don't know, the Weimar Republic was basically the German government before the Nazi Party took over, and it was a very unstable government. We are a very stable government where the president does not hold all the power. Basically, the presidency, the White House, holds roughly 30% of the power. The judiciary holds roughly 30% of the power. And the House and the Senate hold roughly 40% of the power. Again, these are rough guesstimates, but this is basically how things continue to balance themselves, and how one person does not lead the entire country, and how the House and Senate can get shit done without having to make us pay for a fucking wall. Anyway, the reason I really want to talk about all this is because again, this notion of I don't know who to trust, where your message is coming from, and I started by saying I don't take sides. I have no sides. I have no box to think within. People often make that comment of thinking outside the box, and at some point in college, I was just like, fuck the box. Why have a box to begin with? Just try to, be as... How do you put this? Try to have the most encompassing perspective as possible to just try to find the best right answers. And so, yeah, when it comes to one's sources, and I guess I should be, I should have like sources and shit up here or a graphic or something, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to talk because it's on my mind and I want to talk about it. Kind of like the heavier topic that I recorded before that will be a Rambler topic, or I don't fucking know. For me, the reason this notion has never occurred to me is because, as I mentioned, maybe it's a thing that comes out of higher education, but always check your sources. Always put your sources in check. Always. If something sounds wrong, start to trust it less, and then find something to trust more. Always put your sources in check. Don't just read one thing on Google News. Don't just read one thing on Google News and be like, okay, because this article said this, I believe it. Be like, wait, there might be something off here. Let's double check. Let's find something else. This article actually has more information than the previous one did on how Trump fired Comey. And that shit's important. Find the objective news anchors. And of course, as we've said on this show before, objectivity really isn't always possible, especially being human. There's always going to be some note of subjectivity. However, some of the news anchors I choose to listen to in particular are very objective, where they deliver the news, and that is it. And from there, it is really on you to form an opinion about what happened, not them. And for those like Philip DeFranco, I think it's completely okay to give you the news and then have an opinion about it. But of course, that will always skew things. That is why there is a separation between objective and subjective, especially when people refer to like some of the more famous news anchors like, what was his name? It doesn't really matter. Most people aren't going to know the name if I even were to remember it. But the point is, it's not on the news to get it right all the time. It's on us to always, if you want the right information, you always have to be going to multiple sources. When it comes to gaming, I don't just say like, okay, I'm going to type this into a Google search because I want to know about this gun, and then I find someone who's just like, this gun sucks, or that, like, this Warframe sucks, or for those who don't know Warframe, this build for fucking, I don't know, this Hearthstone deck sucks, and it's just like, okay, well, that person's obviously got their opinion, but I haven't formed my opinion yet. My opinion shouldn't be their opinion, so I'm gonna go the extra mile. I'm gonna, because it's also within human nature, almost apparently, to put negativity out there. When we have, I was talking about this week with a coworker, where to be an adult is, unfortunately, to become more in control of one's negative feelings. However, because one becomes more in control of their negative feelings, it doesn't really get broadcast about how to control that, how to put less of that negativity out there, how to shove the negativity out and let more of the positive, more of the happy in, because being happy is often a selfish activity, believe it or not. Even though I often share a lot of my positivity, it's often very selfish, because it's very inward. You're happy, and it doesn't matter if that person right there next to you is unhappy. I mean, it should matter. It'll matter a bit, but like happiness often doesn't require that everyone around you be happy. Because you kind of just eventually accept that if people are going to be negative, they're going to be negative, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's kind of like trying to reason with people who don't want to listen. They're going to believe what they want to believe, and that's just the way a lot of people are. It is not your goal to. It shouldn't be one's goal to reason with every single person ever. There are always going to be people who do not see particular branches of reasoning, that do not have particular branches of belief. Rather, really, we just need to have it's kind of like, why are you having a conversation with this angry person? Or why are you trying to have a conversation with this angry person when clearly all they want to do is be angry and hold to their beliefs? Instead, if you want to have a conversation, you have to be able to sit down with a person who also wants to have a conversation, not be angry. And even if you butt heads on what you believe in, as long as you can converse about it, that's okay. It's going to be one of those rare moments where I actually edit the instead of just having one continuous piece of footage where I actually edit and circle back to my point, because I watched myself. And getting back to the point, opinions are dangerous because a lot of people are just looking for what to think about a thing. Another issue of our culture is we kind of just want to be told what to think because we want to kind of have the easy answer, the easy solution. I just want to get through this part of, again, being a gamer. I just want to get through this part of the game, or I just want to get through this part of the movie to get back to the part I liked. I want to get through this part of the show to get to the parts that I like. And so sometimes we'll skip that. Sometimes we'll not do the due diligence. And so coming back to the show analogy, what's going on now? I feel like I missed something but that's because you skipped something before. And so, we often don't want to actually think about things. We often don't want to do our due diligence, check our sources, check those who want to put an opinion on something. But Phil, I think for those who watch Philip DeFranco, I think Phil gets it right most of the time. He gets it right because what he demonstrates is logic and reasoning applied to the real world and applied well, which is why he has such a massive following. And those things are good, but of course, people will look at that and say, he, reads the news and puts his opinion out there. But then they stop at that. It's not, well, he, does his due diligence and checks his sources and double checks his sources and has people triple checking his sources while he goes through these steps of iterating his opinion to himself. So he speaks his opinion out loud, or at least this is what is a likely process of what he does. He says his opinion out loud, then he writes it down, then he looks at that, and he says to himself, wait, this isn't right. Let's go ahead and see if this part of the opinion should either be removed or put down here, and then let's form a new kind of segment of what maybe I should be saying about what I think about this issue here. And there's a whole process to it. And again, it kind of just comes back to this want for the easy road, where even thinking is an easy thing. Reading the news isn't supposed to be an easy thing anymore. In fact, even though our technology has made it easier to consume the news, it's actually made it harder, where now everyone wants to be a part of the news. All of these different sources. I'm trying to think of a really good one that didn't really... BuzzFeed. Perfect. BuzzFeed didn't really exist before The internet. But because of the internet, they do, and they can be talked about like they're some kind of news source. Facebook can be referred to like it's a source, but it's not. Don't use Facebook News as a source. And so these things are important to as our technology continues to grow. Becoming better consumers and users of that technology is important when it comes to trusting your sources, consuming your news, then having a conversation about that stuff. It's important because we're seeing actually what happens when my desk falls apart. No, that's not what I meant to say. We're seeing what happens when people don't want to have a conversation about this stuff. They let their negativity in. When they just let that negativity drive them to things, and then they do things they regret, like join a protest. That protest turns into a riot. They get arrested. Good job. Because being arrested is always good. That's always a great sign of, like you were doing things right. Burning shit. And so, again, Mark and I have talked about this on the show before, that like it's not about this struggle to be right and show how right you are. And if someone is telling you you're wrong, to get in their face and show them how right you are, and to bully them until they understand, to not let people speak at your college campus because their opinion is different from yours. No, it's about putting even yourself in check, always having that doubt that like maybe I'm wrong. Probably not. I've actually thought this through pretty well, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's challenge that. It's the same. Perfect example. It's the same thing as working out. For some reason, my abs don't seem to want to improve for the past couple of weeks, and I keep doing the same exercises. Wait, did you try challenging them in a different way? No. So you continue to do what you were doing, which is fine, but you also introduce something new to them as well. This is actually a core tenet of working out, building muscle, just working on different muscle groups. Challenge your muscle groups, and you'll find different or even better results. Challenge your views, and maybe you'll even reinforce your own, or have better views, or have more encompassing views. Maybe you don't accept the way one person thinks, but you can understand that friend of yours better. We just need to, if you want to consume your news better, then consume more news. Try to put the news you like in check. Try to put the news you don't like in check. Figure out why. Don't just say, I like ABC over Fox, and that's where I'm gonna stop. No, why don't you like Fox? What did Fox do? For me, Fox told a couple of news anchors roughly 6 years ago, and obviously all things are subject to change, so Fox, as a news corporation, very well could have evolved and changed. I don't know. But Fox told a couple of reporters to basically go find some information to make up a story about, I think, mad cow disease or something. Do not trust what I say here. Go look for yourself. It was roughly around 2012, 2010-ish, where Fox had a couple of reporters going somewhere in the South, I think Florida, to basically make up a story about some kind of either tainted meat or something that was basically untoward. Those reporters were fired, and then they sued Fox. And then Fox tried to countersue them. It was this whole thing, and I really should refresh my memory on that, because that made me very untrusting of Fox News. And so, yeah, for that reason, for a long time, I haven't trusted them as a news source. But even they can get it right. Just because one wrong doesn't mean that a person or a news source can't get it right. Should they not fucking do that? Yeah, they shouldn't fucking try to make up news stories. And no one should try to fucking make up news stories. And if you want a good news source, you got to find the ones that get it right most of the time. I'm not going to tell you which ones to check out because that's on for everyone on themselves to decide. But yeah, I think that it's about being more responsible as consumers, readers, those who want to understand news and information better. It's on us to do better and to show that we want better from these sources. And that's about it. Marc, probably wouldn't want to talk about this. So, yeah, Comey being fired, stupid either way. No matter what way you cut it, it just seems stupid. He seems stupid, too. I can't help but circle back to a story that Philip DeFranco reported on, where this undercover cop basically made a comment to some kids, and then the kids made some comment back to the cop, and so he decided to detain one of them, and by detaining, very forcefully grappling with a child and dragging them across several yards and then over a hedge, and then as one of the other stupid kids involved jumped behind the cop, he chose to pull out his gun and then accidentally fired it. And it's just like, God, every single person involved here is wrong. Like, all of you. You just completely failed at communication, and you're wrong. And that's another thing to recognize, that just like, it's possible for everyone to fucking get it wrong. The president, the news, everyone. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, or my like 20 minutes of sense on news sources. So hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if you like what I had to do here, do the thing, and very sincerely, get out there, do good things, and take 5 seconds to look beneath the surface to help you do better things. See you next time.